Hey, yo, peace to the gods, peace to the earth. This your man, the King of Truth. King Truth is Allah coming on this. Where we at? When understanding wisdom, right? Understanding wisdom. And our supreme mathematics, that's 2 and 3. Now, keep in mind, I changed them. I changed them to 2 is now understanding and 3 is wisdom. You know what I mean? Which adds up to power. So, you know, how I see that is, I see it as you have to understand something to be wise. When you understand something, you know how to do it. Then you will be able to use your intuition, right? But you just not gonna get some knowledge and use your intuition, or use some magical formula to understand. So knowledge, understanding, wisdom. You have to get the knowledge. Then you have to understand the knowledge to be, you got to know how to play the game before you add on. See, adding on properly, adding on right and exact makes you wise in a sense, right? Whatever wise and wisdom really truly mean, right? It's some European language, right? It's so, this why, I was thinking today, this why, some people struggle with education. Some people struggle with speaking. Some people struggle with learning because of, them not being able, us not being able to accept the English language. Just go with it, and that's what it is. I think it's some psychological blockage, due to slavery, that we struggle with education, speaking the English language. Like I was listening to some Southern brothers talk, and they, people explain the Southern accent draw. They, it's a explanation behind, Creole and Southern drawl and everything. And so it's just, I think, we inherently know that the English language isn't our language. So I think it's a psychological block or effect from slavery that I stammer, I stutter a little bit. And I'm just thinking about it, like, maybe it's because of, it's some psychological effect of slavery. You see what I'm saying? That, something in me won't will not let me just take the English language at face value. We really don't know what we're saying. You see what I'm saying? So, but those, it is reports out here that suggest men and women that learn to speak well, properly, do well in life, right? And so I don't, once again, that could be, part of the game. You see what I'm saying? If you learn the dominant language of the world, which is English, then you will do well, which is some kind of form of world domination, right? And melanated people like myself and others that struggle with the English language, education, learning new things in English, is, may have a problem with it, right? So, but so, you can't, so you have to get to learn knowledge. You got to receive knowledge, and then you got to understand, the knowledge that you are receiving. And then once you understand, because if you don't understand the instructions, how you gonna play? Even if no one verbally tells you some instructions, but you see how it's done, then you understand. And then if you figure out the ways to win, that makes you wise, in certain people's eyes. So understanding comes before wisdom, and which I'm tired of the word wisdom. Once again, I really don't know what it means. It don't mean why. I mean, we could break it down and, roll with it as wise don't, but wise, mind, intelligent. But once again, that's knowledge and understanding. So I think, I wanted to elevate, update, upgrade the lessons, and I'm teach wisdom, to have a winner's mentality. If you don't think positive in your undertakings, all that you strive to do, how can you expect to manifest, build, and succeed in what you're building, without a winner's mentality? And this could just be training your dog, teaching your children to walk and potty train them without losing your temper. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I see it. Understanding, then wisdom, right? So I just want to get peace. So I just want to get into I'm about to share my Spotify podcast, and so I learned that I got haters, and man, I got haters, and people take it personal when I don't want to associate with them no more. They take it personal. Grown men and women take it personal. I wasn't raised that way. My mother and father taught me, if I want to go somewhere and I don't have nobody to go, and I really want to go by myself. Take myself. If somebody tell me no and leave me alone, leave them alone. Don't pressure nobody to be your friend. You ain't got to do nothing like that, right? So, this is how I was raised, for real. But I got haters, people I guess we was friends with, I guess, but their definition, their idea of friends doesn't coincide with mine. You see what I'm saying? And so, so now we grown, and they still act like they got some toys I want to play with that I can't get. You see what I'm saying? And I'm grown and far removed from whatever level they own. So, but I don't, and so the people, the men and women that got a problem when I don't want to associate with them no more, or want to fight, like I'm putting them down, right? I'm not putting you down. We ain't meshing, we ain't vibing. We not air-like. We not on the same level. You know what I mean? And I'm just telling you straight up, just by not coming around, I'm, not dealing with you no more, not being in your cipher, your eyesight, your life. I don't want nothing to do with you after 30, 20 years. You see what I mean? But they take it personal when I say it. And like they want to beef. They got a beef. If I like, no, I don't want to be friends. I don't want to kick it with you. You don't grow. You know, they really want to beef. Men and women want to beef if I don't want to be friends, or cool, or hang, or fake friends. You know, because we not friends, right? And they want, I guess, people, you know, and so, you know, it's crazy that grown men and women want to fight about me not having nothing to do with them. And so I got to take the position, because, you know, they be like, you know, you want to beef? And I'll be like, well, no, it ain't no beef. I don't, and so if I don't want nothing to do with you, it ain't no beef. I just don't want nothing beef, and it's having something to do with you. Beef is having something to do with you. So I don't want nothing to do with you. And so I like, man, you know, these people need therapy, right? So I made a podcast episode 3 years ago talking about, you know, they treated me, and they still act like I don't have a life. And so I would go around and say, well, I don't have a life. So I would say, I don't have a life like that. So I was like, I ain't got a life like that. You know, that somebody could cross me out, lie to me, hate me, rob me, slander my name, and we gonna be friends. So, you know, so they don't understand. So I assume they don't know what sarcasm means, right? So I looked up sarcasm. Sarcasm is the use of remarks that clearly mean the opposite of what they say, right? Made in order to criticize or hurt someone's feelings, right? So if, like, someone busts out a so-called friend that think they invisible or not heard, busts out my car window, busts out my house windows, and then think we supposed to rap together, or still rap together, or be friends. I gotta come pick them up, and I'm like, I ain't got a life like that, you know. And you know, they think I really mean that I don't have a life like that, and I don't know what's going on. So, you know, they don't know what sarcasm is. And this why they cut them off, because they uneducated. They don't grow, man. So, check out this podcast that I made on my Spotify. I listened to it earlier. I'm gonna listen to it again. I get triggered by it, but I like it. So check it out. Peace. Is Allah come me on this what's the date? Understanding Day of June. Peace to the gods, peace to the earth. This your man King Truth is Allah. Come me on this what's the date? Understanding Day of June. Right, 2022. Oh man, people misunderstand. People misunderstand me, and so I'm doing this on this Understanding Day of June. And so I'm gonna just try to bring some clarification to haters, right? I'm bringing some clarification to haters. I had said a long time ago, I put in the street. I was going about my business, and I said, I started saying, I said, I don't have a life like that, right? I said, I don't have a life like that, right? I don't have a life like that. That's what I said. And I was responding to haters that don't like, that do not accept me telling them no. Right? I have left a lot of people alone that I used to mess with in the 80s and 90s and early 2000. I have left a lot of people alone. Right? And it's just me understanding that, those people don't grow. They not good for me. They not beneficial to me in no kind of way, even, as far as, self-esteem wise, health wise, financial wise, growth and development wise. The people that I left alone, aren't good for me. Right? And so I constantly, it's like a war that I'm in with, CeeLo of Goody Mob, on the old Goody Mob track, say, it's like you fighting for your spirit and your mind, right? So, it's like I'm in a war with haters, people that I known for a long time, knew for a long time, people that I don't know, have a problem with me telling them, no, I don't want anything to do with you, right? And so, I was responding out in the street, and I was like, oh, I don't have a life like that. I said, I don't have a life like that. And I was responding to, one person I did that to was Carl Robinson, the dude I used to rap with. He's in a homeless shelter now, right? And so what brought me to say, oh, I don't have a life like that to him, or just make that statement real loud so I could be heard, was him thinking that he could be a part of the attempted carjacking on my mother, breaking my house 2 times, try to break in a 3rd time, and vandalize my car and rob family members. Rob my family, like my cousin. They stole my cousin's car, my father's car, and that's Carl Robinson and his brother Vincent Robinson. And so now, and so this was in the mid-90s all the way to the middle and all the way to the early 2000s that they was doing these things to me and other people. And so time went past, and he think we're going to be friends, right? That we can be cool again. And I'm like, and so I'm listening to this dude talking about, we going to rap and all that. And so I'm like, wow, I don't have a life like that, right? That, or, not only rap, I'm a help him out. I'm going to give him some money. we going to record, or, what I'm saying? I'm going to, do all these things for him. This what his mind, this what he was trying to, trying to impress upon me, right? That I was going to be his benefactor in some kind of way. So I'm just, peeping this dude. I'm like, wow, I don't have a life like that, right? That this dude think he could, that, he got me like that, right? That, he, and so, so now he was using what he called hits of him breaking in my house and trying to carjack my mother as a way of trying to get me to do for him. And I was like, wow, I don't have a life like that. That this dude, 9th grade dropout, living in a homeless shelter, he must see me as some weak, lame dude, right? Sort of kind of feminine, because, women been taking care of him like that. And so he must think I'm like that, right? And so this what led me to say, make that video, right? As far as rapping is concerned, I was like, dude, if you think that I would rap with you again, you think you something special like that you can violate me like you have, then you ought to go get your deal and get some money if you think you that special, right? And so I'm like, wow. And so I told, so I've been telling a lot of people that know him, the Doodle Brown dude, well, man, you come through. I say, no, I'm never fucking with you. I'm never messing with you again. Never, ever. And so it's like these dudes got a hard time. They talk, they hate, they lie, they steal, they backstab. And so when I say, well, I ain't fucking with you no more, you know what I'm saying? I'm never messing with you, never, ever mess with you again. They still on me today talking about, well, we can do something. You right there. No, I'm not right there. I ain't doing nothing, no business with you, nothing. And so now, and my father's nephew, he's 58 years old, he the one that, lie a lot. And so now they starting to repeat what I've said. I ain't got to lie. I don't have, so they repeating what I said. I don't have a, they are now saying, well, I don't have a life like that. That's why I'm going to stay on you or continue to pester you because, they saying, well, I don't have a life like that. So now they mocking me and it's still a way. And so they don't understand, right? If you don't got a life like that, and I didn't told you no in no uncertain terms, then you ought to, go about your business, man. But I don't have a life like that, so I want to get with you. And these is dudes. You see, I don't get with dudes. And so, I don't get. And so now, my father, nephew, and all these dudes is, 1 foot from where they live to being homeless. And I can't mess with nobody that don't believe in hard work, dedication, education, training. Learning, knowledge. And so now they continue to pester me like I don't have, cause but it's like I said that, so it's okay for them to pester me like they gon' like they are life and they could be my life. Can't no homeless, broke, bum, smelly, stinking, hating, jealous, uneducated dude be my life. See what I'm saying? They that down. And so it's like they trying to get with me to use me. I don't get with dudes. I see what they doing. And they just, this is why I tell the police, this is why I go get police on people. Like, people I have to tell no repeatedly because they ain't getting the message. They don't understand. See, it ain't hard to understand when a grown man tell another grown man, grown woman, I don't want nothing to do with you. See, no mean no. No mean no, no matter who telling you. See what I'm saying? Dogs, animals communicate no, and you will back up. Animals communicate no, and you will back up. Babies communicate no, and you will be careful. Children communicate no. So, man, somebody, grown people that's uneducated and undereducated, don't understand no, it's going to lead to beef, physical beef. I don't want to play with nobody on these levels. So, and I ain't being uppity or arrogant or stuck up, man. I'm not, if you ain't about, growth and development, really, truly growing up, being a responsible person, take responsibility for your own actions, I ain't trying to mess with you. If you ain't about taking responsibility for your own outcomes, living in the real world, living in reality, whereas coming to the realization that you are broke and homeless, undereducated, uneducated, and want to change that. Want to change that because you know it can help you become stable in your life. It will teach you how to become a stable, responsible man or woman, meaning financially stable, financially responsible, paying your own way through life. Your own way through life. You know, motherfuckers get on welfare and tell you it's the shit because they on welfare. But welfare is when you don't have any money to feed yourself or pay your bills. You live below the poverty line. The United States Finance Department has defined a certain level of income. The Economics Department has defined a certain level of income where they can establish and determine how much a person needs, how much a person make to determine poverty level. So, you know, and so y'all don't make no money, so you live below the poverty line where you have to go on welfare. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I understand, but I'm not trying to mess with nobody that's, that down and out, that full of pride. See, people say, we all have pride, but if I was full of pride and arrogant and I wouldn't seek further learning. I wouldn't. I'm in school right now, taking independent class and courses to improve myself. So if these people that I'm constantly telling no, it's not about self-improvement and not truthful with themselves or aware that they need to improve on themselves, I don't want nothing to do with you. Life is serious. Life ain't no game. Life is serious. I'm not playing with nobody. No mean no. So, yeah, man, I'm clarifying. Everybody got lives. Some people, depend on, how they think, their outlook on life is, living is, how they take living, what they determine living is. Everyone has a life. Some people live better than others if they are in great mental and physical health. Have a great financial health. Then they may be living and they're knowledgeable and educated on things, and so they may be living better than someone in the same financial income bracket, but not as educated or mentally healthy or physically healthy. You see, so people, it's levels to life, and everybody has a life. So, and I'm not trying to be no homeless hating somebody that showed their true colors, showed their hand as being real jealous haters. They life. I'm not trying to be their life. I'm not trying to be no down and out uneducated woman's life, no hating woman's life. And they aren't in a position, they don't know enough to be my life or to give me life or share their life with me. So no mean no, man. I don't want to play with y'all. For real. So yeah, I'm just clarifying, you don't have a life, then you need to be careful. If people have a life, or people say, well, I got a life, I don't want to play with you. But, if you got a life, you don't want to share, people going to do what they're going to do to protect their life and not waste their life in telling people I got a life in it. That's ridiculous. People, fools do that. But somebody homeless, uneducated, on drugs, don't understand that they homeless, uneducated, on drugs, really don't have a life, and I really don't want nothing to do with you. And me saying, well, oh, I don't have a life like that, is being sarcastic and cynical. And so, y'all uneducated and undereducated and didn't pick up on the tone of my statements when I repeated, oh, I don't have I'm being cynical and sarcastic, right? You think I don't have a life so much so that you can do what you do and violate me and then we be cool. Because I admit or express I don't have a life. That's crazy. I ain't messed with these dudes in 20 years. Seen them for 5-15 minutes in 10 years. And so I don't have a life, meaning you got a life. So man, that's all I'm trying to say, man. Whether I got a life or not, no mean no. And if I don't want to play with you, I don't want to play with you, deal with you, do nothing with you. So so now if you are expressing you don't have a life, you need to get one. You know what I'm talking about? Peace. I'm out.